Hi, hello, it's Leilani from the Bible in 1 Year. We are reading Psalm 72 today, and this is one of the only two psalms attributed to Solomon, King David's son, and also his successor. Now, David hoped that Solomon would establish God's kingdom on the earth. And David told his son that if he followed God's commands, he and his kingdom would flourish forever. So Solomon asks God to empower him to follow his commands, to judge fairly and rule justly on the behalf of the poor. And in response to this righteousness, Solomon prays that God's gift of prosperity, peace, and wholeness will cover the land. Solomon hopes that his good reign will last as long as the sun and the moon. And he prays that those he rules over will be rewarded for their righteousness by flourishing forever. And then Solomon hopes that his kingship will be like rain, making possible new life and goodness for all his kingdom. And then he borrowed some language from the creation story because he prays that he will rule like Adam over the entire earth. He prays that all kings and tribes will bring him gifts and that will bow before his power. But this global power is on behalf of the needy. Solomon prays that his global leadership will provide for the poor and respond to the needs of the oppressed on a global scale. And Solomon then leads his kingdom into a final prayer, reworking God's promise to Abraham. He prays that the division that exists between nations will end and an eternal era of blessings, prosperity, peace, and wholeness will begin. And then to mark the end of the second book of Psalms, a short hymn is added to the end of Solomon's prayer. It says, it praises the God who lives forever and hopes for a day when his name and kingdom will fill the entire earth. Now, sadly, Solomon did not follow his father's advice. Solomon did not establish the kingdom of God, and he did not complete the promises God made to Adam and Abraham. But Solomon's prayer for a king empowered to judge fairly, rule justly on behalf of the poor, and to fulfill the promises God made to Abraham and Adam was answered in Jesus. Like a true son of David, Jesus followed his Father's command, and he even died to save his people. Jesus promised peace and a wholeness to all who were oppressed. He healed the blind, fed the hungry, and preached good news to the poor. Even his grave became a womb, bringing new life out of it. And all the needy, poor, and oppressed who call out to Jesus are given the prosperity, peace, and wholeness David hoped for his son. And right now, like Adam, Jesus is the ruler over the entire earth. People from all nations and languages bow to King Jesus in recognition of his sacrifice and the justice his kingdom brings. Jesus has also made God's promise to Abraham come true, united in worship. The divisions that exist between nations and people are ending, and Jesus' eternal era of blessings, peace, and wholeness have begun. And right now, we are living in the kingdom of God. And the good news is that it will continue for as long as the sun and the moon exist. Solomon prayed, God answered in his time. And may we realize that God hears the cry of every prayer, and he answers according to his time and his will. May Jesus be your answer today. Until we read together again, be blessed and goodbye.